Well, good morning, folks. Welcome back to the channel.
He's got me up and out before I've had my breakfast, so I'm not quite with it yet.
I went out for a run and came home and said to Nicola, get out for your dip now. Anyway, we're already rambling. So we're going to use this episode to catch you up a little bit with what we've been up to. And we'll do that in a moment. But first up, someone, as you can see, is still doing their dip. So
Although I will have to have a break soon because I'll be hopefully getting on a plane.
yes, she's going over to see her mum in Cambridge for the first time since January 2020. So we're going to go get her dipped, get me caffeinated, get her fed, and then we'll jump in the van and catch up a little bit with what's going on. See you in a bit.
And the sun's out.
Pretty sure I've said this before, but it's not a bad place to spin our heels. I mean, don't get me wrong, we really want to travel, but it's not a bad place to spin our heels.
It's almost like being in the Med here today, just until you get in the sea days. But
Yeah.
it's getting warmer. It is getting warmer in the sea.
A morning like this morning almost tempts me to get in, but spot the word almost. The official word on the street is it's Baltic in there. She always comes out with a huge smile on her face. I'm not sure whether her face is just frozen that way or whether it does actually make you quite happy. For censorship, I'm not going to turn the camera around on her because, yeah, it's cold in there.
I'm okay. Okay.
Hang on.
It's not too bad. Once you get over that initial shock, it's actually okay and you can stay in for a little while now. Really, really lovely waves when you get a little bit out there, so good fun.
I was going to say, is the smile on your face because your face is frozen that way, or is it good endorphins?
No, it's really good. And I was watching the gannets dive while I was out there, which is just amazing. Really cool.
There you go. Good for you. Right, let's get ourselves ready, get ourselves into the van, and we'll catch up in a bit when we'll update you on what we've been up to these last 18 months of lockdown. Not a lot, actually. So we have arrived over in a little park-up spot for the morning, and of course we're checking out fish and chip shops.
But I'm feeling a bit perturbed because it looks like it doesn't open until 1 o'clock. I'm starving.
And we kind of have a plan. It's basically, just to bring you up to speed a little bit, it was our 20th wedding anniversary on Wednesday.
But we were working.
Yeah, so we decided today to have a little bit of a fun day. So we're meeting up friends. We're meeting up our friends later on this afternoon for a beer. And we thought we'd come across the Ballycastle and check out a recommended fish and chip shop, Morton's. But we also needed to do our shopping. Just realising this is a really
What a
dull...
jet set life we lead.
So, but actually, just very quickly, I'm trying to get this one into a little bit more of looking after all of the vlogs that you've seen so far. I've done 95% of the recording and 100% of the editing. So I'm trying to get Nicola to do a little bit more recording. And on the way over today, she said, well, I'll record some B-roll. What was the first thing that went wrong?
I can't even remember.
I'll give you a clue.
Oh yeah, I left the, what's it called? Lens cap on. This is why I don't do the video in.
I know. And then the footage was all over the place, and so goodness knows what we ended up. Oh, and then the GoPro crashed, and yeah, anyway. So we're over here now. We're just sitting a coffee on, trying to wake this one up.
I'm literally, I don't know what's the matter, but I can't wake up this morning.
And then we will be back with you, and as we promised, give you a little bit of an update of what we've been up to.
But for now, I need to see if this fish and chip shop opens earlier.
Yes, but not a bad view, eh? We actually hunkered down here a couple of times during sort of semi-lockdown. Just came over and just chilled out here because it's a really nice view, and the wind is kind of not too bad at the moment, so we can keep the door open and have a nice view with a cuppa. Right, coffee time. As we were saying, a little bit of an update on what we've been up to since, well, I guess since February 2020. I think the penultimate video that we posted on our websites, we were talking about what our plans were. And at the time, we had Guinness, and of course she wasn't able to have the rabies jab. So our plan was to go into Shetland again. That's kind of what we had planned to do. You just switched off there, yeah?
I'm watching the people walking past. I'm so easily distracted. Sorry, I'm back.
And then obviously, unfortunately, as you know, we lost Guinness, which is still, even over, almost 18 months later, is still very painful. But we then said, right, I remember we were actually walking back from just being out, just trying to clear our heads, and we just went, stuff it, shall we just go into Europe? And we both went, yeah, let's do it. So we took a little mini break down to see my mum and dad, and the plan being we were going to have a couple of days away, and then we were going to come back and really get our heads into getting ourselves into Europe. And I started to notice something on TV called, well, you know the name of it. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be good. And of course, it wasn't. And, well, that was our Europe plans. Right, royally stuffed up. Now, lockdown in Portrush, and I guess for a lot of people, those first couple of months of the first lockdown, it was all very novel. We were all, having Zoom parties and baking bread.
And it was stunning weather over here. Really lovely.
And most people, in fact, 90% of the population here in Northern Ireland paid attention to the rules, which meant that Portrush was completely empty. We only took ourselves out once a day, and we did a little circuit of Portrush. And that actually inspired me to produce a little photography book, hashtag empty Portrush under lockdown. You can buy it on Amazon if you so wish. And so the first couple of months of lockdown it just felt okay. It felt kind of like, oh, this is quite nice weather and grand. Obviously my photography business kind of took a bit of a nosedive. I'll talk about that in a moment. But those first few months up until about sort of June time frame wasn't too bad.
So we got to the beginning of June, and it didn't look like we were going to be travelling anytime soon. I know things had started to open up very slightly, but we were still quite wary. Nigel was Mr. Precaution, so he was keeping me on a tight leash, so to speak. And we were missing Guinness so much. The flat was so empty. We didn't have any plans to go anywhere. And friends of ours actually have been doing dog fostering for a number of years through Dogs Trust in Ballymena. And I thought, I love dogs. I grew up having dogs. I can do that. So that's what we decided to do. And luckily, after going through all the different processes, they accepted me as a foster carer. And Nigel was an aside to help me out. And we got our first dog at the beginning of June. She was quite a difficult dog. She had some health issues. So she ended up being with us for 3 months.
Came in on the very first day. And of course, I'm not against the idea, but I was kind of like, okay, dogs, here we go. I was still really, we both were, but I was still really suffering with really missing Guinea, and I didn't want to sort of just replace. I know it wasn't replacing Guinness. So of course Lucy comes in. She's a little Yorkshire Terrier, and as Nicola said, she had some health issues. One of them meant that the first day she came in, inside the first 2 or 3 minutes, she basically exploded her bottom all over the bedroom carpet. And I remember just walking out of the bedroom and walking to the sink and just looking at the window going, what the heck have we done?
And I think the same thing happened overnight, that first night as well. But she was a little darling. She soon come round. It took us a couple of months to get her sorted health-wise, but we found out what was wrong, etc. She had a couple of little trips away in the van with us.
She did.
Which was lovely, to Donegal. But she hated all other dogs, so that was a bit of an issue.
Bit of a theme here as well.
Yeah. But anyway, that was great. I broke my heart saying goodbye to her. Thought she was the best dog in the world.
Bit of a theme here developing, we'll see.
And because I was so heartbroken, I vowed I would never do it again.
And it is tough. I mean, we had Lucy for 3 months, and it starts to become like she's your dog.
She is yours, yeah. But anyway, I think about, excuse me, a month went by, And I'd kind of realised she wasn't the only dog in the world. And the Dogs Trust, I just gave them a call just to kind of say hello. And they happened to have 2 little Jack Russell Chihuahua crosses, and they didn't have a home for them, a foster home. So I said, oh, I better talk to Nigel about it, give us 24 hours. 5 minutes later, I was back on the phone going, we'll have them. June and Cash, funniest little dogs.
They were brilliant.
They loved all other dogs. They just wanted to be cuddled like babies.
Yeah.
And they were really good fun.
Yeah, really good fun. I really fell for June. She was what I would class as almost the perfect van dog. She just loved to laze about. She had this real sort of like happy swagger. Just fantastic.
Wanted to say hello to everything, person, dog, anything she loved. So they were a real joy, but we only had them 4 weeks because they were just brilliant. And on the day they left, we ended up then getting a little miniature pinscher called Boris.
And I'm doing that there because literally we went from...
We'll put some pictures of the dogs so you can see what they look like.
We went from having June and Cash, who were the most adorable, fun-loving little pets, to Boris, who sadly had been a show dog and didn't know how to be a pet. To the extreme that he would come over, the first day he came, he wandered over, put his 2 paws kind of on your thing, and then just stood there, and I don't know what to do. And he had this kind of really crazy stare.
When he tried to sit down, he'd be like rigid, and then he'd just kind of like fall against you like this. Boris also had this thing about trying to jump on everything. And unfortunately, he'd got a damaged eye. One of the other show dogs had injured him and he couldn't see very well out of it.
Kept falling off walls.
So he'd keep trying to jump on things and quite often just ricochet off, which I know you shouldn't laugh, but he had us in hysterics every day.
Out of the dogs that we've fostered, he was certainly the one that brought the most entertainment.
Yeah. And we literally could not be together without him. Yeah. We couldn't sit like this.
Nope.
He would be here. You couldn't hug. You'd have to pick him up. Literally had to be with you 24/7.
Yeah. Think about birth control, get a Boris. That's all I'm saying.
And we ended up having him for 4 months, and he was like a different dog when he left. Yeah. He knew how to be a pet. He loved being with you. He did hate all other dogs, but apart from that, he was just a joy. And he broke my heart. He absolutely
broke her heart. And so that was it. I again was having to pick up the pieces. Nicola was in, it's just, and every time we gave the dogs up, it just reminded us of that day that we lost Guinness, because there was just that, you phoned up Dogs Trust, they were coming out to pick them up, and it just felt, I know they were going off for their forever home, which was
But it
fantastic.
felt like they died. Yeah. It really felt like grief. It was
So
awful.
We basically said, no more.
And then about a month passed and I'd finally stopped crying. Yes, I had been crying for a month. And I'd heard that the Dogs Trust were desperate for foster carers. So I thought, again, I'll just give them a call, probably nothing come of it. And literally 2 days later, we were getting Beans.
Which you've seen in the video from last week, so
and
dashund.
He was with us 5 weeks. And again, totally broke my heart. Yeah. He again could not be left. I mean, he was even worse than Boris. You could leave Boris for say 15 minutes and come back. Although the first time we left Boris, he did shred my shopping bag.
He did.
And leave us little presents. But Beans just couldn't cope. He would whimper, he would bark, he would again leave presents, he would take the paint off the doors.
Yeah.
Just a little darling, absolute darling.
He would take the paint off the doors, just a little darling.
Seriously.
He was.
Dogs Trust did say that they could give me any broken dog in the world and I would think it was the best dog ever.
Yeah.
And they might be right, but again, Beans broke my heart and I sobbed for 2 days. I couldn't get out of bed. I felt like it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
So that really is it now. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And also we are hopeful for travel.
Yeah.
And of course having the dogs are limiting from that perspective. But certainly has been a journey, a worthwhile journey though.
Really. They have brought us so much joy. Yeah. They've kept us sane during the lockdown. And I obviously have anxiety issues and they've definitely helped with that. And it was a tough call giving them up. There were, at times Nigel gave me the choice to keep them and live a sedentary life. But I'm just not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So,
And just a little bit about that, Nicola saying about sort of helping her with her anxiety. My dad is sort of, I guess you would call it now, mid-stage dementia. And, I can already see that we've lost, a heck of a lot of his personality. But you see the couple of times that we took the different dogs down to see him,
his face lit up.
it was like
amazing.
he had been transported back to his old self again. Absolutely fantastic to see. So that was our...
Well, that's just been from June until literally this week.
Yeah, Beans went.
Beans went on
in
Sunday.
May. So a year of foster dogs, 5 dogs, and they all had their own little wonderful ways. But it's been good to do, but tough.
Heartbreaking, but wouldn't have changed that time for the world.
So as I alluded to, my business, a self-employed landscape photographer, went up in smoke. Basically, no one was coming in workshops. And so I made the decision at the turn of the year to get myself a little sort of part-time job. Now, I haven't been on an interview in 20 odd years. And so I went along to an interview with B&Q and somehow managed to get the job. And it's actually grand. It's sort of between 20 and 25 hours a week. And it's outdoors because it's in the sort of gardening seasonal area. So it's perfect from that perspective. So
I'd just like to point out that I wouldn't even let him weed in our garden because he pulled up the flowers. So I'm glad they didn't know this.
You've never seen me wee in our garden. Everyone at home going, I wouldn't let my husband wee in our garden either. So that's been good, and it's kind of just sort of not even from the money perspective, although that's obviously very, very useful. Because one of the things that we were very aware of was, we have a plan, and we'll talk about that very, very quickly in a minute. But we had a plan of what we wanted to do with travel, and so we've set aside some money to do that. And obviously, lockdown has meant that we've been here stationary, and so we're trying not to sort of eat into those savings too much. So having the job from that perspective is good, but more so just getting out and kind of doing something, because up until a couple of weeks ago, we weren't even able to do this. And as I said, at the start of lockdown last year, Portrush was wonderful, beautiful, and hardly anyone around. This year,
It's been mobbed.
as I'm sure a lot of people have found, people have been stretching the rules a little bit. We've still stayed pretty much on our doorstep, but there's been a lot of people coming in, which has made it a little bit more stressful. So the job's been fine.
Well, some of you know that I've had an ongoing battle with anxiety for many, many years. Well, probably since childhood, actually. Got progressively worse after my dad died. And I've been on and off medication, for getting on for 15 years now, I think. But I decided that beginning of last year, before I knew all this was going to happen, I would come off my medication, and I would do it over the course of a year, so really, really slowly. So it got to October. Bear in mind, I started the withdrawal in January, and I thought, I can't do this without having something to focus on. It doesn't have to be something massive. I do have my running, but I've been injured on and off for about 18 months with different things, so that was a bit sporadic. So I thought, right, I need something where I can just do it every day and it'll just give me a quick buzz. So I thought, I don't swim very well. I don't like the cold. I'll go in the North Atlantic Sea every day. Now, it turns out starting in October isn't as silly as it sounds because the sea warms up a little bit over the summer and it's pretty much the warmest time of year to do it. So I think it was around about the 19th of October, I just went in for my first dip. And it was okay. I was pleasantly surprised.
She didn't tell me she was doing this here. I just, noticed one day. I was like, "You're in the sea. What are you doing?"
And every day I would get up first thing in the morning, traipse down, do my dip. Now, I'm not swimming in the sea. I'm not spending 15 minutes in the sea. We're talking like a minute, 2 maximum. But it just woke me up for the day. It gave me something to focus on. It felt like a bit of an achievement, even though it was this like tiny, tiny little thing. And as the days went on, I started to think, well, I can't miss tomorrow because I've just done like 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. Before I knew it, I was slap bang in the middle of winter. It feels like -8 outside. We had gale force winds and I was still going in every day. And it actually got to the end of January, so just over a year, and I finally finished my medication. Now, I've been off for 3 months and it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but the sea dip, on days where I felt like I was literally falling apart, I would get up, I would go in, and 5 minutes later, I would feel like I could cope with the day. And it really has helped massively. And just over a week ago, I hit my 200th consecutive day in the sea, and I'm so pleased that I've stuck with it. Now, I am still going in every day, but I know there's going to be a point very soon where I'm not going to be able to, because I'm hoping to get over to Cambridge to see my family.
Which you haven't seen
Which
since.
I haven't seen in nearly 18 months, so that would be really good. But I kind of feel like now I've done that 200 days, that's okay. I feel like it's just become part of me now, this dipping. And it'll be more a case of doing it the days I can, and if I don't, I won't beat myself up over it. But what I can say is if you have the opportunity to do something like this, I can highly recommend it. It's not going to cure your anxiety, it's not a magical cure, but it gives you something to feel proud of doing every day, something just for you and something just to kickstart your day. And on those days where there's big waves, it's freezing cold, nobody else is out there and everyone looks at you like you're a mad woman, they're the best days, because you get out and you're like, I've done that, I've done it. And that's an achievement when some days you feel like you can barely breathe, let alone do anything else. So just do it if you're thinking of it.
So that kind of brings us up to date to where we are now. And we're hoping things are, as I'm sure you know, around the UK, things are starting to relax a little bit. I still think we're going to see a sort of ups and downs. And so we have plans now.
Plans!
We have plans and we have backup plans, and then we have got backup plans of those plans. So we're not quite sure exactly what we're going to be doing. But I think what number one's going to be, well, the first thing, we were just talking about this earlier, obviously up until we lost Guinness, we had her to look after, and so our options were limited to what we wanted to do, especially the last couple of years, because she didn't really want to go into a cattery. Obviously we had the dogs the last year and COVID and stuff, so we couldn't really do a lot, but now all of a sudden we have all of this kind of, we can do whatever we want to do, so there might be the odd weekend away. We're actually just across from Rathlin Island. We went there 5 years ago.
Yeah, for
your
my birthday. So we're thinking of maybe going again,
having a couple
for
of
my
days
birthday this year.
over in Rathlin. We also, friends of ours, Alistair and Lauren, recently moved over to the Isle of Arran, which actually I have run around with Alistair as well when we were training for an ultramarathon. And so we're probably going to head over there just as foot passengers and do a little bit of a jaunt over there. But I think what we're going to do sort of July, August and into September maybe is do a couple of months down on the west coast of Ireland.
We've talked about it on and off for ages,
Yeah.
and we kind of think whilst Europe's still getting the vaccinations sorted, etc., maybe it's better to stay local, just in case anything.
Our long-term plan remains that we would like to spend a year in the van in Europe, going from south, probably over the winter time, right up to the Nordics in the summer, and sort of everywhere in between. Parking the van up back at home again. And then actually the other thing that we've been doing is habit forming, is we've been learning, is the, it is working, Spanish.
I think we're on day 257 today, so...
Using Duolingo.
Yeah.
Because obviously what we want to do once we've parked up the van is to then spend 18 months, between sort of 18 months and 2 years, backpacking. Now, a large portion of that is probably going to be in South and Central America. But obviously Asia, India, various other places as well. So a couple of years of backpacking. Our plan had always been, when we lost Guinness, to spend a fixed amount of time, or an extended amount of time, a couple of years, between sort of 2, 3, 5 years, whatever, on the road.
Basically, as long as the money lasts.
Yeah. To put it bluntly. But the first thing would be Europe, but we're just going to wait till things really sort of settle down. The last thing we want, we don't want to put our lives on hold completely, because we felt like we really have, like a lot of people, we've lost so much time this last year. But at the same time, I don't want to be sort of going into Europe and looking over our shoulder with sort of
It's
further
been really
lockdown.
tricky, because we see people travelling and we just think, why aren't we doing it? But then you see all the lockdowns that have come and gone, and it's made it really hard to know what the right thing is, but I think we're getting to the point where we do think we need to just go and do something.
And the west coast of Ireland is
It's a good
beautiful.
compromise, yeah, and it's a good option.
Even though I grew up in Ireland, never went to the west coast of Ireland at all. And the only thing we've done is up around Donegal. So we're just going to spend a couple of months on the west coast of Ireland, obviously bring you guys along, and hopefully as we get later in the year we'll start to see a clearer and happier and healthier picture in Europe, allowing us to then finally hit the road properly. Right, so now what we're going to do is we've confirmed with the chip shop that they are
We've still
open.
got 30 minutes before they can take our order. Very funny over in Ireland. You kind of ring somebody up and you're going to want the same order in an hour's time, but you still have to ring back an hour. They can't write it down then. And I've noticed that with over here. It's kind of very by the book.
Yes.
Which is quite unusual for Irish people.
Right, so we will catch up in a few minutes when we're stuffing our face with fish and chips. Apparently, this is supposed to rival some of the best fish and chip shops in Northern Ireland. Morton's in Ballycastle. So we shall see. So I am on fish and chip collection duty. Yeah, apparently this Morton's gets really good reviews. So I always hold it to the Bethany. Now, on our travels down in southwest England, we actually came across a really good chipper in Tintagel as well. Still wasn't as good as the Bethany. So is Morton's as good as the Bethany? Let's wait and see. So for those of you who know Ballycastle well, you probably noticed in that last clip that I was walking in completely the wrong way to pick up said fish and chips. Yeah, Morton's is actually down the little road that you actually park your car when you're going to get the ferry across to Rathlin. So yeah, ended up walking up the hill and going, hey, where's Morton's? So back on the right road. Should be able to pick it up in about 5 minutes time. Fish and chips! And that's fish and chips done. It's funny how you look forward to something for ages all morning and then you just go, whoa, wolf it down. Right, so we've eaten and the survey is in and the numbers are on the doors. So for me, portion size never in doubt in Northern Ireland, 10 out of 10, absolutely loads of it. We got 2 cods, a chip and some peas, £15 by the way. The cod inside the fish, very nice. I would give that a very sound 8 out of 10. The batter, a bit too greasy and a bit too thick for me, 6 out of 10. Chips, 7 out of 10. Peas, 7 out of 10. So an above average 7 out of 10, I reckon. Now, given the fact that Bethany is 10 out of 10, still a way to go. And what says you?
Yeah, pretty much agree, I think. I'm not a massive batter fan anyway, but it was nice and crunchy, which I like. But just sort of halfway through, it was too much greasy-wise.
But the cod inside
But there's loads of cod inside, and it was really fresh, and that was really good. And I think the chips were better than you said, actually. I'd give them an 8.
Yeah, so Morton's in Ballycastle, definitely worthwhile checking out. But also go check out the Bethany, even if you're watching this from the other side of the world. Right, guys, well, we are going to get back in the van and drive back over to Portrush. As we said,
we haven't got time to do our shopping, so we're just going straight to the pub.
Yeah. As we said, this is our little anniversary, 20th wedding anniversary, fun day out. So that's our plan now. We're going to head back and go meet some friends, which, well, we're hoping, it's all complicated these days. You have to book a table and...
So we tried to book while we were in there, and they're like, no, you have to ring a number. So we went home, tried to ring the number, nobody would answer.
Yeah.
So the next day we went back to say we can't get an answer. So the girl said, I'll take your booking and ring to confirm, which of course she didn't.
Yeah.
But if you ring at 12:30, you'll definitely get an answer.
No.
So now we're just going to turn up.
Just going to turn up,
yeah.
Squatters' rights, take our own table and sit down. Right, guys, so that has been our update on our lockdown diaries. Hopefully before long we'll be on the move. And
we'll
maybe
actually be doing something quite interesting, maybe.
and maybe actually back here getting the ferry to Rathlin, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, once again, thanks a lot for following along, and until next time, see you later. She never says goodbye.
I don't like saying goodbye. It sounds like weird. Bye. See, it's weird. Weird.
See you later.